let's talk about some specific terms that parents may hear and not understand in these processes. IEP.
Yes, IEP stands for Individualized Educational Plan or Individualized Education Plan. And typically your son or daughter will not have an IEP until that testing has been completed and he or she has been found eligible to receive services, whether it's SLD, which is specific learning disabled, ASD, which is autism spectrum disorder, EBD, which is emotionally and behaviorally disabled. Those are some of the terms you'll hear. But your child will not receive an IEP, an individualized education plan, until after all of the testing has been completed. And as a team, you all have decided that he or she needs additional services and is eligible for those services.
Based on all that testing and evaluation. Awesome.
Yes.
So you just don't get it by requesting, but at least that gets you the evaluation, the testing, and then it will be explained to you why or why not the services are needed or that designation is needed.
Correct.
Now, what about 504?
504 plans typically don't come through student study. A 504 plan is for those students who may have, for example, a diagnosis of ADD or ADHD. And the impact of this disorder is affecting their academics, where they're falling behind, they need more time, they need things shortened, or whatever the accommodation is that they require. A 50, there's no evaluation needed for that because we know what's causing the issue or concern. So you would meet with typically the guidance counselor, the teacher, and maybe one other person and the parent and develop a 504. Typically, because I don't deal with 504s that much, there's a note from the doctor explaining why this disorder or this area of concern, ADHD, ADD, how it could impact the child's ability in the classroom.
And need some accommodations.
And why they may need some accommodations. Typically, we request that from the parent to bring that with them.
Absolutely. So again, this is a child who has maybe a pre-existing. And this is a child who, I say, don't hide things about your children from the school. You start a new school, or you're switching or whatever you're getting your child into, be honest. If they have ADHD, some particular already pre-existing diagnosis, let them know from the onset so that these things can be put in place. You're setting them up for success. Everything is in place for them when school starts. Instead of playing these games and they have to figure it out later. Because that's only going to help your child. It's not about the label or treating them a certain way. You have ADHD, you may need a little more time. You may need to sit in the front of the class or closer. The teacher may need to speak directly to you and make sure she has your attention. You may need some body breaks or, these different things. So let it be known. Absolutely. All right. And so then you mentioned ESE.
Yes, which stands for Exceptional Student Education. And typically students who fall under that umbrella are students who have been labeled or found eligible for some of those services I mentioned earlier, SLD, EBD, ASD, things of that nature. Gifted is a little bit different. It does not fall under the ESE umbrella, but the other services do. You may hear OHI, which is other health impaired. Maybe your child has diabetes and it is affecting them. Their blood sugar levels will affect them in school, their behavior. Maybe they aren't able to stay awake depending on their blood sugar levels. Maybe they get tired really quickly, whatever it is. If a student has something like that or has been diagnosed, for example, with diabetes, they may meet eligibility for other health impaired services. Typically, our students with medical diagnoses that need more than a 504 will have that label of other health impaired or OHI.
That gives a great understanding of some of those categories that kids can fall into. God, you're blessed if your child is just fine and you don't need anything extra, right?
Yes.
But just know, if there are some concerns and some things, there ask for help, and there are processes and routes so that all of these things, the needs of your child can be met. Is I guess the main thing.